Guys, it's Lori. So I just want to do a quick video on enabling versus supporting. And this goes for dealing with people that are struggling with addiction, but not only those that are struggling with addiction. There are other people, other behaviors that we enable. To enable somebody would be, to enable them to do something. I'm talking about negative behaviors, okay? A lot of people that have had issues with drug addiction, or alcoholism, they may stop using their drug of choice, but I firmly believe that addiction is a problem. I mean, it's a problem in the brain, but nobody sets out to be an addict. So I firmly believe that in 99.99999% of cases, the substance use, whether it be alcohol or drugs, is a symptom of a bigger problem. And you can't get to the heart of the bigger problem until you stop using the substance. And that can become a problem in itself. But I firmly believe there's more to it than that. So a lot of people that say just stop drinking or just stop using drugs, and yay, good for them. That's always a good thing. But do you notice they still show these different behaviors? They still may, not. They still show the behaviors of an active user. So. And not everybody who gets dependent upon a drug is an addict. They are addicted physically. But what I'm talking about in addiction is the mindset, because think about it, like my mom, for instance, became dependent on opioid drugs towards the end of her life. But she was on them, painkillers, for years and years and years and years, prescribed. And yes, her body became dependent upon them. But she didn't show the addictive behaviors, you know what I'm saying, of an addict. Like the lying, the making excuses, the feeling of hopelessness, Do you know why I think the addict lies? It's not because they're a liar, although some of them are, but it's because they're trying to hide their addiction. Like, once you're in an addiction, it's a constant. It's a constant trying to hide the addiction, trying to feed the addiction, make sure you're all set, but trying to hide the addiction or trying to make it appear that it's okay. So there's way more to it than just using a drug, running out of the drug, looking for the drug. I mean, that's what it appears to be on the outside, but there's way more to it. So, enabling versus supporting. Are you making excuses for certain behaviors? Do you make excuses for them? If you're supporting somebody, you don't make excuses for their behavior. You call it out. It is what it is. You know what? Let's get rid of the embarrassment, because enough already. We don't have to hide this stuff. Nobody is perfect, okay? So whether it's an addiction that you're dealing with to somebody you love, or whether, you're living in an abusive situation, or you're living in a financially hard situation, or whatever the case may be, let's just be honest and throw pride right out the window, because you know what? Pride doesn't do us a damn bit of good. We got to be humble and just call it out like it is. If you're the one that made the mistake, hey, look, I did this and I made a mistake and I was wrong, or I did it on purpose and I made a mistake and I was wrong. I did it on purpose and I was wrong, or I made a mistake and I was wrong, or I made a bad choice and I was wrong. Let me fix that, instead of taking all the time to say, I did it because of blah, 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 or, it's too much energy. Let's just call it out for what it is, okay? There should be no shame in being human. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying have no shame and just go about your business and hurt people. And that's not what I mean. But you mess up, okay, let's call it what it is. Somebody you loved messed up. That doesn't make you love them any less. And who cares what other people think? You wanted them to get better. So don't try to cover for them. So if you find yourself making excuses, you could be an enabler instead of a supporter. If you are continually helping for the same problem and nothing changes. So the person is not like you help and then the person doesn't like try to do anything to change it themselves, and then they need your help again and again they don't do anything, so it's like just a cycle where it feels like you're being used. If you're starting to grow a resentment, you could be codependent. If you're starting to grow a resentment but you're not saying anything and you're doing it, you could be codependent. So if you're making excuses, if you're covering for the person, like for instance, when I was married to an alcoholic, my counselor called me out on this because we went to marriage counseling and he couldn't get out of bed one day because he had drank too much the night before, and I went and I got there and he was late and I started to make an excuse for him, and the counselor called me out on it. Was it a male or a female? I think it was a guy. He said something to the effect of, I know why he's not here. Don't you make an excuse for him. And he came strolling in, I don't know, 45 minutes later, whatever. But I didn't even see myself as making excuses for him. And the counselor said something like, I bet you call his clients too, and I did. And you know what? I did not see that as enabling. I saw it as just being a wife, So if you keep doing the same thing over and over, if you're covering for them, if you're lying for them, if you're making excuses for them, you don't have to throw somebody out. Maybe you do. Every situation is different. Okay? We went through a period where it was tough love, shut them right off, and sometimes that's what you have to do, but not every time. That's the problem. I think we go through these trends and it's like, oh, you got to do this, this, and this, or you're not doing it right. I think that's a really big problem, especially in addiction, because not every person is the same. Not every addiction is the same. Not every cancer patient is the same. Not every diabetic is the same. But every diabetic needs to watch their sugar. But every cancer patient needs to, eat right and healthy and take care of the problem. But it doesn't mean that every case is similar. Doesn't mean every case is exact, If you find that you're an enabler, first thing you do is stop. You know what? Get a notebook, start writing things down. And the first thing you need to do is say, okay, I need to be 100% honest. 100% honest with myself, 100% honest with the person, and 100% honest with anything relating to the person. No more cover-ups. Just let the light shine right in. That can be really hard. First step is be honest with you. Don't even make excuses for yourself. It is what it is. You start from day one fresh. Be honest. Sorry about that. My phone just shut off. So the second thing is, and this is a really, really hard one, really hard for a lot of people, especially if the person, and of course the person that you're dealing with you really love. You can deal with all that later. Should I stay in the relationship? If it's a husband or wife, should I stay in the relationship? All of that stuff you can deal with later, but do these first two things first. First thing, like I said, get yourself a notebook. It's always good to write things down, and completely 100% honesty. Period. Just 100%. Doesn't have to be brutal, but pure honesty. Second thing is, and this is really, really hard for many of us, especially if you've had to do things on your own for any number of years, or if you've gotten through a lot, if you survived a lot. So it's a hard thing to do. I understand for most of us. I have issues with control. I'm a control freak, or I was a control freak. I am no longer. But a lot of us that are codependent or that find ourselves enabling are doing it out of a loving control, not a control to, like, dominate. But I found, like, for myself, I would immediately try to control situations with people I love to help them. Now, if I step back and analyze that, I'm basically telling them that I'm better than you, I'm smarter than you, I can take care of this, I'm going to do it. But that's not what my mindset was. My mindset was, I just don't want you to have any kind of stress, any kind of harm, anything, I'll take care of it. But what you're portraying to the world is you're not good enough to take care of this, you're not able to, you're not smart enough, whatever the case may be. And I don't think, I would say a good 90% of people that have control issues are more along the lines of trying to control you because they love you. So whether you're a control freak or whatever, if you're in an enabling position, you need to step back, take a deep breath, and let it go. One thing I found is, like, what I like to do when I try to let things go is go, okay, what's the worst case scenario? If that happened, that would be bad, but that would be that. I can't do anything about it. So see, if you really get it through your head, I can't do anything about it, you'll let it go. So do those two things as the first step, and then go back, revisit it, and maybe you'll be able to talk with the person that you've been enabling. Maybe not, depends on where they're at in their growth. But you will do nothing by doing these two things to harm anything. You will only be helping the situation. All right, I'll be back with another video about this, but I just wanted to make a quick one. All right, I'll talk to you guys soon. See you in the next video.